Hi everybody, Brett back at the 2-scale modeling part 2 of the B-25 Hong Kong Models 148 scale build. Part 1, remember we did the bomb sight, got it all painted up. There's going to be a change on that. Did the seats, got the seat belts in, got them repainted. Just need to weather the seats once they're in place. And off camera I put the bombs together because it's just gluing two halves together and you know how to do that. The only thing we really need to do is seam cleanup. You can see there's a seam. And how I do that, I have an Alex scraper that I got from somebody in Japan. I can't remember who. It was either Hobby 2000 or Hobby Link Japan or one of those. Maybe even Lucky Model. Just look for Alec, A-L-E-C, scrapers, and you'll find them. I like using this one because you've got the rounded out parts. You can just find the one that fits the best for the bomb you're using. You don't want to go too small because if you go too small, sides are gonna dig lines into it. This one I found, I'm pretty sure is this one here. You can see, keep the curve going. Then all you do, take your seam, you can see, slight seam there. Just start scraping away. And yes, it's going to take the primer off, so you re-primer them. But primer was part of the way it was easy to see the seam. Just like that, a few scrapes. Seam gone. Of course, you need to get around to the front. And for me, this is easier than sanding. Plus, it keeps it curved. Seam gone. There's going to be a little bit down here you need to do. A little bit on the nose you need to do. But seam's pretty much gone. Once you reprimer it, even that little faint line you see will go away. So do it to all 6 bombs. I've done it to most of them already. So if you can find this tool and you do a lot of curves like bombs or fuselage halves for smaller aircraft, this is a great tool to have. I make many different sizes and styles. Here is another one they do for getting into corners. And for some reason their name isn't printed on these anywhere, but it's A-L-E-C, Alex Scrapers. Google it and you'll find out where to buy them. Hopefully they're still available. So one of the changes I'm going to do, after looking at all my reference pictures, and I remember I'll put one up, the floor of the B-25 was not aluminum. It was the same color as the walls, the interior green, US interior green. So what I did, I'm leaving them aluminum. I put chipping medium on it. And I'm going to paint them green like I do all the other parts. And then chip them because there would be, the rudder pedals are down here. There'd be chipping there. There'd be chipping getting in and out. Same with this here. I'm going to paint it the green color. And then I'm going to chip away. So what I'm going to do now is see which parts are all going to be interior green and paint them up. The interior green is L. So pretty much all the walls, all the bomb bays, all the bulkheads, the interior of the fuselage, floors. And of course, there'll be some touching up, and we need to drill some holes too. Let's drill holes first. Get my Spey pin vise. And we need to drill a hole in E7. one thing I like to do that I didn't do, find my marker. Give me a second while I find my red Sharpie. I've got it somewhere. Yeah, I got so much stuff in these modeling areas, it's hard to keep track of them all. So I like to take my red Sharpie and highlight the sprue number so I know right where it is. I'm not looking for it. All right. E7 is 6, 8. Oh, E7 is the floor. Duh. And you need to draw out this one little half moon right there. So I'm going to take, and you can use whatever drill you have. For big areas, I'd use my trumpeter one. But I like this. It came with a twist one instead of having to use an Allen wrench or something. These are available pretty much overseas in a few places here. I tried selling this bay, but the pandemic hit and it was hard to get anything out of the country. Japan, China, anywhere to the US. So because it's half moon shaped, it's going to need a little cleanup. So I'm just going to drill a couple holes like so. Take my knife with its brand new number 11 blade in it. Just clean out that hole. Like I said, it's a half moon shape, like the control stick, so you won't put something in the wrong way. So in the first few videos, there's going to be a lot of painting, a lot of pre-assembly. Then we get to the main assembly of the parts. There you go. It's all cleaned out nicely. A half moon shape, just like the other one. Okay. Put the knife away so I don't stab myself. There are also, in the fuselage, you need to drill holes out. Both sides of the fuselage. So we're going to do that right now too before we paint. There we have 2 fuselage halves. The holes are sorry about that. This one and this one right here. It actually goes like this. This one and this one right here. This one and this one right here. And again, if you want, you can just take your Sharpie, mark them. If there's a lot of holes and some need drilled out and some don't, it's always best to mark them. Again, I'm just going to take my little spade drill. And I like using this more than electric on small things because the electric can get out of hand. And melt the plastic and make the hole too big, and you end up drilling the hole in the wrong spot because you slipped while it was running. And check the other side because you're going to have raised area. And then just drill into the other side. And that should remove those raised bits. 2 holes there. piece of cake. Again, there's lots of pin vices out there. Matco Tools makes a nice one. Like 15 bucks. It comes with 6 or 8 drill bits, not sure which. There you go, all drilled, all cleaned up. See if there's any more things we need to drill before we start painting. One thing I am going to check on is, does this gun have to be mounted, or am I going to be able to do it from the outside in once it's together? And it looks like there's a nice mounting point for the gun. That once that's out of the way, you should be able to get to it. And let's clean up all these ejector pins before we get into painting as well. Clean them all up, smooth them all out. And there's 4 in the front. And let's check the inside, make sure there's no ejector pin marks that we'll need to cover. Shouldn't be, because the way they place those. So a little cat hair right there I gotta get out. And I do not see, this is the copyright part. It's going to be covered by the Bombay. So, that's very good. HK Models did a good job on that. And remember, check for hair and things, because you don't want hair in your paint. There we go. Fortunately, it wasn't embedded in the primer, so it's gone. Great, yep. Okay, so I'll do that to the other side and get it out of the way. Easy enough. Make sure you get all the plastic from your drilling cleaned up out of there. Sorry, cat just jumped on my seat. Okay, get these things out of the way. Sanding stick. Clean up your area. A few swipes, let the stick do the work, don't put any pressure on them. Looks like right here, where they cut some parts off when they separated these from the sprue. You can see right there, that'll prevent the fuselage halves from going together well. Cut that out, so check the whole length. There's another one there. Because this was on a sprue gate, or sprue tree, before they were put in the box individually. There's another one there. Another one there, so you can see them all along. You'll still have to sand them down on the bottom. There's one there, one there, one there, one there. I'm torn on whether I like them, taking them off the screw tree or not, because you get some savage on a Friday night who's had a bad day at work. It just starts randomly ripping off. And before you know it, you've got chunks taken out of your plastic and everything else. Like I said, make sure they're all smooth, or else it'll prevent your fuselage halves from joining together. This side's going to be easier. The other side's got the pins that go in these holes. And be careful so you don't deform, create divots. So I'm trying to do a kind of a 45-degree angle. And just feel along. Are they still raised? And once we get this done, we'll do a test fit. If you sand too much, you're going to end up filling. And that'll be a whole nother discussion. Just make sure you're flat against the seam for the join. Don't be at an angle. There's also one right there. Make sure. I don't want to take off something that's used to hold something else in place. So let's check the directions on that one. See, it's not showing them there or there. What goes in there? Landing gear doors. It's not showing them there, so I'm going to remove all those. What is that? An E18. I'm going to have my landing gear down, and that, there's a ridge right here, so that has nothing to do with holding the door if you're going to put it in the closed position. These little ones here do, but this big one here does not. So, always check your directions before you start cutting things off, or else you may regret it later. So those two are also attachment points. But you can, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a lip running around there, and this does not. This is flush with the fuselage. So it's going to go to and then sand away the rest of it. Some instances, a coarse sander works better because it won't create as much heat because you're not moving it as much. And since you're in between all those ones you don't want to cut off, just need to be careful. All right. So which side did I do? This side. So it feels right, but when we get the other side done and test fit it, we'll know for sure. This one, like I said, will be more difficult because you've got your raised pins here, here, and you need to sand here. And there's a raised pin there. You need to sand there. Now, if you're the kind of person who doesn't care about the raised pins, you're just going to put the fuselage half together, you don't have to worry about it. You sand them away. As long as they fit, I'll keep them on there. Go down. And unfortunately, most of these are next to the raised pins. But these do seem more flush than the other ones. As long as you're careful, your sander will butt up against the raised pin. If you're being too aggressive, then obviously you're going to sand them away. Let's go down the whole length. And we're sanding away the primer too, which is actually good because it'll help with the join. There's not one there. There's one there. Okay, there's one there. And one there. And one there. And I'm not putting pressure on the sander, I'm just letting the sander do the work. I mean, obviously putting some pressure on the sander because you have to hold it. But I'm not pushing down on it. Okay, see how good I did. Get some nice clicks in there. Oh, I did definitely okay there. This still needs a little. Maybe not. Maybe I just need to line it up. Back here, still need some. Back here's okay. A little more work there. Up here, you can even see right there. Oh, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see right there. They're still pushing against each other. So let's do a little more. Take your time, there's no rush. Rushing is how you end up having to do filler. So I'm going to do this a section at a time. I'm using my fingernail. All right. There we go. Come on. Now we're getting there. We're getting there. trying to fit together here. And again, you don't want to sand too much because then you're going to start deforming it. And you see already there's a big chunk right there I missed. And you can see if it's on the inside or the outside edge, you don't want to keep using your big one. Switch to a smaller one. Down in there. Oops, wrong side. There we go. We're getting that seam together. Once you get glue in there, it'll go together nicely. Glue together, get some pressure in there, you'll get it together nicely. Now the back here seems to want to give a little problem. It's like the hole doesn't want to fit. And obviously you don't want to make these holes too obnoxiously big. Maybe there's just a little flash in that one. Oh. So there's a screw part on there that I completely missed. See, that's one of the reasons I like to cut them off myself. I know exactly where I cut everything off. And it's gonna and back here it's got a whole big raised chunk right there that shouldn't be there, that I missed. There. Backs together. If I recall, the bottom wasn't as bad. So of course you're not pretty much not going to see the bottom, so of course it's going to be better. There's a big one right there, little one there, little one there. The front is pretty good. That one's pretty good. That front right there is probably the best of all of them. So, let's do a little more cleanup. Bottom. That was good. Through here wasn't as good, especially this one here. So if you don't want to keep watching me sand, go ahead and fast forward, because I realize it's been 30 minutes of sanding. So that one's getting better. Like I said, once you get the glue in here, it'll bond it together, because that's not bad. So that as is for now. Put this stuff away and get ready to do some interior painting. Okay, so I use this kind of paper on my painting surfaces. My extractor's on the other side of the room. This is professional painter's paper you can get in any hardware store. Doesn't have fibers, won't soak up the paint badly, easy to clean up, not very expensive. I've had this roll for several years now, and starts out about this big around. And like I said, any Ace Hardware or hardware store should have it. I highly recommend it if you do a lot of airbrushing. I forgot to turn on the compressor. I've seen my head. Sorry. There you go. So, like I said, we're using real color paints. I am going to put in my leveling thinner, if I can just remember where I put the bottle. Real color paints, 50-50 or 60-40 thinner to paint, sometimes even 70-30, because it's very good paint. Takes leveling color very well. Sorry if that blew out your headphones. Okay, I like to do that and still give it a good shake. This is my Proxxon PS270 Procon, sorry, not Proxxon, Procon. Really good airbrush. I'm sure it's an Iwata airbrush, but I've been using it for a year and haven't had any problems. Haven't had to replace any needles or anything. Before I paint, I always like to put a couple drops of thinner of the type of paint that I'm using through the airbrush. Just kind of get used to the idea of what paint it's using. Now I'm just going to be painting all of the interior colors that need to be painted. Now I don't really look at my air pressure. I know the tank's like 60. I've got two MAC valves, one on the airbrush, one on the hose. The hose is now turned all the way off. Slowly turn it up. I tend to use one on the hose more than this one. And that's a good consistency for the paint. Oh, and I wear a glove and a mask, and I take off my watch. And apparently I need a new glove. Sorry. That was weird, huh? Hold on, let me get a glove. How's that for unprepared? Guess we'll be doing it without a glove for now. I like to go through and spray off all the debris from sanding and such. Then I just start with light coats. This part, I could mask it off, but I think since that's the same color, I should be okay. Get the edges. Start spraying up the bulkheads. Now those parts that are still gray are going to be a darker green. The instrument panel's black, so I'm not going to paint it. Most of these are only going to be viewed from one side. Let's see. Yep, this part needs it. Of course, you are going to miss some parts. Just go back and get them later. Radio boxes are not inside of these. Doors are. These ones aren't. Let's see, where's the doors? Elevators. I didn't primer these. So this paint is good. Should be okay. Then I start with light coats and go back into a heavier coat. It's not a car, so it doesn't have to be a heavy wet coat. And then you want to make sure you get all the angles. And you are going to weather this, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I leave the oopses in. See, another oops. That's okay, we haven't even primered that side yet. Like I said, coming in all the way. Noticing the camera showing what I missed better than my eyeball. And a lot of this stuff you're not going to see, but you know it's there, as they like to say. And this has chipping fluid on it. So when it's dry, we can chip away. Other floor, this one has chipping fluid on as well. These two Bombay walls have a lot of raised area, so make sure you move around a lot on those. All these raised areas, the tanks and stuff, are going to be painted a different color. I just really like how well this paint goes down, sticks to everything. This leveling thinner dries very fast. And like I said, if you miss some things, you can always go back and get them another time. Nobody's perfect. See those parts here? No primer. They're not quite as dark as the other ones, but the paint stuck perfectly. Okay, found the part of the nose. Another bulkhead. These radials will be black, unless they're ammo boxes, and they won't be black. They also will be this color green. Check everything else. Looks like that's all I missed. I mean, I could paint the weight, I guess, but why? Maybe the bottom and the top. All right, now just double check everything, make sure you got the color and the feel you want on it. Make sure you didn't miss any angles or corners. Sure it all looks good. I completely missed this one. Funny, I missed one side of it, but not the other. How weird is that? In here, sure we got all the angles. Fuselage halves. Make sure it's how you want it. Like I said, we're going to weather it up. This is not going to be a factory fresh bird. This has seen some combat. Depending on where we're stationed, it could have been stationed in a muddy field and it's going to be dirty inside. So there you have it. We have got our interior green done. So, in the next video, sit this down. Next video, if we're doing anything, I'm going to paint this black. We're going to get everything put together. I'm going to paint those in the next video. We're going to decal that in the next video, get this all together. Paint the bombs. Get them all together. Work on this. So in the next video, this whole page will be done. Probably this whole page will be done, because it's going to be a lot of painting, detail painting, and then putting together. So we should be able to get through all this, and maybe even some of this in the next video. So they'll start getting fun. I'm going to continue to work on this off camera and make sure I get the best scene possible, because it's still a little wonky. But we're going to work on that, and we're going to keep this build going. There you have it. Thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying this. Hope you're planning on buying one of these. And as I like to say, sit your ass at the bench. Build whatever model turns your fancy. And yes, I tip my paint back in there. And then I also will write on the lid LT thin. So when I use leveling thinner on that one, if I'd use rapid thinner, it'd be RT thin. So I know what I've done to my paints. There you have it. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video soon.